Hello, sports fans. It is Wednesday, November the 14th, the year 2012, and as always, a lot to get to in the sports world, so let's get it going right now. I have my college football picks coming up. We're going to go through the big games in college football, and believe me, there are not a lot of big games this week in college football. I've said it a million times. This year has not been a great year in college football. There hasn't been that many must-watch games. Hasn't been a great year from weekend to weekend. You've had a few nice games here and there. Hasn't been a big year in college football. This week looks really slow. Next week looks amazing, Thanksgiving weekend. That's always a nice weekend for college football because you have your big rivalry games. But college football is winding down. Do you realize after Thanksgiving weekend, you're basically into the conference championships, your Army-Navy, and your bowl games. So basically, college football is basically just about over. I feel like it just started. It's amazing how quickly football goes by. The NFL flies by. College football even faster. So we're going to go through some games this week for college football. I'm going to give you my picks. Few news and notes before we get to the college football. Let's start in the NBA. Knicks go to 5-0. They beat the Magic last night. Carmelo Anthony good again. The Knicks continue to roll. Knicks have a little tough little road trip coming up at Memphis, at San Antonio, so we'll get a better indication on how the Knicks are in that little two-game swing. That's a tough two-game road trip. Last night, the Spurs, they beat the Lakers 84-82 in Los Angeles. They get a big three at the end. Gasol misses a three at the end. I don't know what the Lakers were doing at the end of this game. You got to put the ball in Kobe Bryant's hand. Instead, Gasol is taking a three-pointer. He misses. Spurs hang on. They win in Los Angeles. Spurs go to 7-1. Lakers go to 3-5. Lakers still struggling. We'll see once D'Antoni gets here how they do. Also in the college basketball last night, in Atlanta, Michigan State beats Kansas 67-64. A game Michigan State absolutely stole. Kansas was leading the whole way. Michigan State down the stretch made some big plays, so nice win by Michigan State. Also, Duke beats Kentucky. Nice win for Duke. The Duke seniors outplay the Kentucky freshmen. If you're going to get Kentucky, get them early because their freshmen are going to get better and better, but Duke gets them last night in Atlanta. Couple of small games I kept my eye on last night. Wichita State beat Virginia Commonwealth. Those are two nice programs. They're always in the dance. They're always, a threat to make the NCAA tournament. So Wichita State goes into VCU, beats them. Nice win for them. And Xavier beats Butler. Two nice programs. Xavier gets the win at home there. Still too early for college basketball. I mean, very early for college basketball. But those are some of the games I was watching last night. Let's quickly go to the college football. Like I said, not a great week in college football. As far as I see where we stand now, there's only 5 teams that can win the national championship. 2 are going to get to the national championship game. Here are the 5 teams. Number 5, Georgia, can still make the national title game. They have to win out. They have to beat Georgia Southern this week at home, which they will do. Then they have to beat Georgia Tech, which they will do. And then they have to beat Alabama in the SEC title game. Plus, they need a little help. Georgia's going to need a couple of these teams ahead of them to lose. Georgia still has a shot, though. Alabama, same thing. Alabama is ranked 4. They need to beat Western Carolina this week, which they will. How is Alabama playing Western Carolina this week, by the way? It's the end of the season. I mean, my goodness, I would figure Alabama would play Western Carolina at the beginning of the year. They're playing them this late in the season. That should be like a 56-0 game. So Alabama needs to beat Western Carolina, beat Auburn, which they will, then beat Georgia in the SEC championship game, and then they're going to need a little help. They're going to need 2 of these 3 teams ahead of them to lose. So Alabama needs help, but they're still in it. Number 3, Notre Dame. They play Wake Forest this week at home. They're going to blow them out. Then they go to USC. Very important game. Notre Dame needs to win out, then hope one of the 2 teams in front of them loses. So Notre Dame still needs a little help. Now the 2 teams in the driver's seat. Number 2, Oregon. Number 1, Kansas State. Let's start with Oregon. Oregon has the toughest road. They have 3 games left, 3 tough games. They play Stanford this week. Stanford is a very tough team. Stanford is 8-2. They're a nice team. I think Oregon will get through the game in Eugene. But then Oregon has to go to Oregon State next week, big rivalry, and then the Pac-12 championship game, which could be a rematch against USC. And even though USC's been disappointing this year, it's still a big game. So Oregon, 3 tough games. Home for Stanford, at Oregon State, and then, the Pac-12 championship game against probably USC, and that game will probably be in Eugene. So 3 tough games for Oregon there. Kansas State, number 1, they have 2 games left. Remember, no Big 12 title game this year, so keep an eye on that. Kansas State, 2 games left. At Baylor this week, they should win that. Baylor's the worst defensive team I've ever seen. Then they have a week off, Kansas State, and then they host Texas, which will be a huge game. Texas not great this year. I mean, you gotta like Kansas State to go undefeated here. As hard as it may seem that Kansas State is going to go undefeated and play in the national title game, I think it's going to happen. So right now, 5 teams have a shot to win it. Kansas State, Oregon, Notre Dame, Alabama, and Georgia. Kansas State and Oregon in the driver's seat. Notre Dame has to win out and hope either Kansas State or Oregon loses. Alabama at number 4, they have to win out and hope 2 of the 3 in front of them loses, meaning Notre Dame, Oregon, or Kansas State, 2 of those 3 have to lose. Georgia at number 5, still in it. They have to win out. They have to beat Alabama in the SEC title game. And like Alabama, they have to hope 2 of the 3 in front of them lose. Notre Dame, Oregon, or Kansas State. 2 of those 3 have to lose. I don't see anyone else alive for this title. I know people still think Florida State can do it. I don't think so. I mean, Florida State shot themselves in the foot when they lost that North Carolina State game, a game they never should have lost, a game they were winning into the fourth quarter comfortably. They blew it in the fourth quarter, and I just don't think they can get back. They do have a big game against Florida coming up, but I don't think they're going to be able to leapfrog all these teams to get into it. So I don't see anyone else other than these 5 teams playing in the national title game. So that's where we stand with the teams that can win the national title and the teams that can get to the championship game. Let's go to my picks this week. I have a few picks for you in college football. Let's start with Northwestern and Michigan State at East Lansing. Northwestern is 7-3, having a nice season. They should have beaten Michigan last week. They totally blew that game at the end of the game. They give up a Hail Mary, then a field goal. Then they lose in overtime. They had a bad punt in that game. So Northwestern, by all means, should be 8-2. They are 7-3, still a good record. Michigan State, a very disappointing 5-5. Great defense, no offense whatsoever. Michigan State is 6.5-point favorite here at home. I am going to take Northwestern because Michigan State can't score. So I'm getting 6.5. Northwestern has the better record. I mean, Michigan State is home, but Michigan State can't score. So it's going to be a low-scoring game. I'm getting 6.5. I'll take Northwestern with the points. Let's move on to Happy Valley. Let's go to Penn State. Penn State 6-4. Considering the circumstances, they've had a decent year. They are hosting Indiana this year. Penn State is this week. Penn State minus 17 over Indiana at Happy Valley. Penn State 6-4. Indiana 4-6. I mean, I see Penn State winning this game comfortably. I could possibly see, like 35-7 here in this game. Last week, Indiana lost at home to Wisconsin 62-14. And Wisconsin's not great this year, so that's all you need to know about Indiana. They're not great on the road. Indiana always fades at the end. So I like Penn State at home, minus 17 over Indiana. Let's go to Nashville. Let's go to Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt at home, minus 4 over Tennessee. You look at this game, you just think of these 2 programs, and you say, oh, well, Tennessee's going to win. They're much better. Not this year. Vanderbilt 6-4, having a nice season. They're going to a bowl game. Tennessee, who's usually a traditional power, always goes to a bowl. They're 4-6. They're 0-6 in the SEC. I think Vanderbilt's a better team. I never thought I'd say it. Vanderbilt, I think, is better. I'll take Vanderbilt at home, minus 4 over Tennessee. Let's go to West Virginia, Morgantown. Oklahoma Sooners at 7-2, minus 10 over West Virginia. West Virginia, disappointing 5-4. Look at some of the points West Virginia's given up this year. Look at some of the points they've given up. 63, 45, 49, 55, 39, 55. What kind of defense is that by West Virginia? They're not going to be able to stop Oklahoma. Oklahoma should roll in this game. They should score each and every time they have the ball. I like Oklahoma minus 10 over West Virginia. Let's go to the Rose Bowl. A big rivalry game here. Usually the rivalry games are 2 weeks from now. This is a big rivalry game played this week out west. UCLA in the Rose Bowl is +4 against USC. USC is favored even though UCLA has the better record. UCLA 8-2. USC a disappointing 7-3. I'm going to take UCLA +4 here. I think I've been more impressed with UCLA this year than USC. I know USC has an explosive offense, and they have Matt Barkley and the receivers. They have no defense. Plus, UCLA has a knack of playing USC tough in the Rose Bowl, and I see the same thing here. I see a close game. I see a big rivalry game here. I'll take UCLA +4 against USC. So my picks this week, Northwestern +6.5 against Michigan State at Michigan State. Penn State at home, minus 17 over Indiana. Vanderbilt at home, minus 4 over Tennessee. Oklahoma -10 at West Virginia, and UCLA at home in the historic Rose Bowl +4 against USC in a very, very interesting rivalry game. So those are my picks there. Like I said, not a great week in college football. You got Kansas State at Baylor. Kansas State should win that game. Notre Dame should blow out Wake Forest. Alabama and Georgia playing two, inferior opponents. I mean, you want to keep an eye on Ohio State. Ohio State is undefeated. They can't go to a bowl. They can't play in the Big Ten title game because of the probation. Ohio State is actually 3-point underdogs this week at Wisconsin. Ohio State's 10-0. Wisconsin 7-3. I'll take Ohio State. I think Ohio State is better. I don't like what I see from Wisconsin this year at all, so you might want to keep an eye on that game. And I guess the big game of the weekend, Stanford at Oregon. It's a decent game. Oregon's undefeated. Stanford is 8-2. But do I really think Stanford can win this game? No. Look at some of the points Oregon's put up this year. 57, 42, 63, 49, 51, 52, 43, 70, 62, 59. Their offense is unbelievable. I know their defense is a little shaky, but how is Stanford going to match firepower with this team? And the thing about Oregon, their games can blow up in a second. The game could be close, and they could get 3 touchdowns in 5 minutes. I mean, you saw it last week in Berkeley. Cal was hanging in the game, and all of a sudden, Oregon put up like 28 points in like a few minutes, and the game was a complete blowout. So that's the big game of the week. I think Oregon should get through the game. So not a great week in college football. Those are my picks. We went over the NBA a little bit. Tonight, you got a little NBA, you got a little, light college football, so not much going on in the sports world. Of course, we got all our NFL tomorrow. We'll go through all the picks, all the games. I did want to mention one thing. The USA soccer team this morning played in Russia, and they got a 2-2 tie, which was a very nice tie by the USA. They were down 1-0. They tied the game. Michael Bradley had a tremendous goal for the USA to tie it at 1. Then they fell behind on a penalty kick, but the USA in extra time ties the game, so they get a 2-2 tie in Russia. Very nice tie for the USA. The USA this year has tied in Russia, beat Italy in Italy, and went to Mexico and won. So the USA soccer team has done some nice things. Now, still, I don't like their defense. I mean, their defense, they give up way too many chances, way too many goals. They're not good on set pieces. Bradley was good. No Donovan or Dempsey in this game. They didn't play. Howard, the goalie for the USA, stole the show. He saved the day for the USA. USA now has a couple months before they get ready for the World Cup qualifying, the final stages, and that gets going in February. So a nice job by the USA soccer team today, battling back and getting the 2-2 tie in Russia against a good Russia team. All right, so you guys enjoy the games tonight. I will go over all the NFL with you tomorrow. All my picks. We'll break down all the games. We got the Thursday night game. You guys enjoy your day. Stay safe, and I will talk to you tomorrow, Thursday. Take care.